So today is learning target 5 and learning target 6. We're going to add and subtract polynomials and multiply polynomials. So let's first start with our term, polynomial. It's an algebraic expression that represents only multiplication and division between variables and constants. For example, in the polynomial x cubed minus 6x squared plus 9, my terms here are x cubed, and so this is my multiplication between my variables because my x cubed is the same thing as x times x times x. My 6x squared is 6 times x, and then 9 is just a constant. And in between all of these terms, there's either a minus or a plus. So my polynomial is a sum of terms that have positive integer exponents. For example, x cubed minus 6x squared plus 9 is a polynomial because my cube here is a positive, my square here is positive, and this 9 is technically to the first power, and that first power is still a positive. Adding and subtracting polynomials. So here, we want to take our like terms and combine them. So this is telling me to add. So let's look at my like terms here. So here I have a squared term. Here I have a squared term. Here I have just an x, and I'm going to keep that with my minus. Here I have just an x with a plus. And then I have a constant, and I have a constant, but I'm keeping my signs. So now I have 5x squared plus 8x squared. That's going to give me a 13x squared. Then I have a minus 3x, because if I dink, I can make it plus and negative. So I have a negative 3x plus 10x. Same sign, add and keep. Different sign, subtract. So I'm going to have 10 minus 3 is 7x. Keep the sign of my bigger number, and that's a positive. Now I have 7 plus a minus 25, or plus a negative 25. So same signs, I'm going to add and keep. I'm going to get, what is that, 25? Minus 7 is 18. My bigger number is minus, so it's going to be a minus 18. And that would be my answer. So we're going to do the same thing down here. Start with green. So I have a cubed term here, and I have a cubed term here. I have an x here. I have an x here with my minus. I have a constant, and I have a constant. I'm going to keep that minus. But if I look right here, I have an x squared term all by itself. Oops, not put that mark. I have an x squared term all by itself. So we have to combine only my like terms. But if we notice here, this is a minus. So I'm going to minus everything. Or if I wanted to right away, I could dink, which means I'm going to change the sign of everything inside, which I'm going to do that first. So I have 8x cubed plus 4x plus 10. And now I can make this minus 7x cubed minus 3x squared plus 15x plus 30. When there's a minus sign outside, I can just change everything on the inside. So now again, my like terms. So now I have 8x cubed minus 7x cubed. That's just going to give me an x cubed. I have 4x plus 15x. That's going to be plus 19x. So I did this term, I did this term, I did this term. I have 10 plus 30. Yep, where did my Mimeo board died, so now I have to use my fingers with the computer, so this might take a little bit. So I have a plus, hold on, 40. So I used this term, and I used this term. I still have this, and I'm just going to leave that in there. Minus 3x squared. But typically we order things from from the first term is going to be our number with the highest exponent, and then we end it with the constant or the smallest exponent. So my highest exponent is my x cubed. My next highest exponent is a squared, so I have a minus 3x squared. Now I have just an x to the first power. Again, I'm sorry for this taking so long. I was in Philly and my Mimeo board died. Plus 40. Alrighty. Multiplying polynomials. We're going to just use the distributive property. That's all it is. So we take my first term. My first term now is not just 5, it's 5x. I'm going to multiply it by x. 5x squared. And now I'm going to dink dink. If I can do that. Dink. Dink. So now I have my 5x times a negative 7. So 5 times a negative 7 is a minus 35, and I still have that x. Over here, same thing. I'm just multiplying this through by everything inside. 3 times x squared, 3 times 7x, 3 times a negative 10 once I dink dink. 3 times x squared is 3x squared plus 3 times 7x. 3 times 7 is, oh my gosh, sorry guys, this is taking so long. Plus 21x plus 3 times a negative 10 is a negative 30. We have no like terms, so we're done. So here is multiplying binomials. This is a special type of polynomial. Bi means 2, so this is a polynomial with only 2 terms. That's what these are. So we use our FOIL method. Our FOIL method is just actually using the distributive property twice. So what we're going to do is f is for my first term. So I take my x times my x. So that's going to be my f, my first term. So it's going to be x times x. And I'll do these all in a different color so you can see. O is for my outside terms. I take this outside term times that outside term. Those are going to be my outsides. So now I'm adding. I have x times 9. Let's go to green. Yep, green. Then I have my inside terms. So I have this times this, and if we dink dink, it's a negative 7. So now I have negative 7 times x. And we're adding all of these. And then my last terms, this is my last term here. That's my last term there. L for last. So plus a negative 7 times 9 is a negative 63. Now all we do is multiply these out. X times x is x squared. X times 9 is 9x. X times a negative 7 is a negative 7x. And I still have my negative 63, my 7 times 9, which I already just wrote out. Or 63. So now all I have to do is combine like terms. I have a plus a 9x and a plus a negative 7x. I can combine those two terms. So I'm still going to have my x squared plus 9x plus a negative 7x, same sign, add and keep. These are different signs, so we're going to subtract. Keep the sign of my bigger number, that's a positive. So 2x, and I still have my plus negative 63. The same thing we could have done is, it's the same thing as just taking this first term x and distributing it, and then taking the second term after you dink and distributing that. It's just distributing twice. So let's do it again over here. My first terms is going to be my x times my x. I'm going to get my x squared. My outside, or if I'm just still distributing with this x and I cover up that minus 10, is x times 1, which is just x. Then I dink, and now I have this, now I'm dinking, and I get a negative 10, and now I'm just going to distribute this negative 10 to this term. So I have a negative 10 times x, so that's going to give me a negative 10x. And then I have a negative 10 times 1, which is just a negative 10. And I should make that look like a negative. So now I have x squared plus x plus a negative 10x plus a negative 10. We combine my like terms, and that's going to be my x's because they're both to the first power. So x plus negative 10x, remember this x is technically a 1. So I have 1 plus a negative 10. So I'm going to have x squared still. I can't combine my squares. Okay. And then I'm going to have a plus. I'm going to subtract. I'm going to get 9. My bigger number is 10, and 10 is negative, so it's going to be a negative 9x. Oh. And then I have a plus. I still have my minus 10. And that would be your answer. So before class, how would you use FOIL to solve x plus 4 in parentheses squared?